As it struggles to diversify its economy and to find new international partners, Saudi Arabia is looking at South Asia with growing interest. But improving ties with India and Pakistan is not a simple task due to the long-standing rivalry between the two. Adding Iran to the equations makes things even more complex, and if the current trend persists, there will be little space for greater Saudi-Indian cooperation. I'm your host Kasim, welcome to another KJ vid. In this video we will discuss Saudi-Indian relations. But just before we begin, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can help to fund our videos and make KJ vids self-sustainable. Sadly, due to the nature of our videos, YouTube consistently demonetizes them as they apparently fit the politically sensitive category. You can also access our full reports and exclusive content by becoming a Patreon member from as little as $1 per month. In principle, there is a good reason for Saudi Arabia and India to collaborate. As any fast-growing economy, India is thirsty for oil and the kingdom is one of its main suppliers. Opportunities for mutual investments are good, and the two share similar views on the fight against Islamist terrorism. In addition, Saudi Arabia also hosts a considerable Indian diaspora. As a result, bilateral ties have been strengthening over the years on both the economic and the political level. However, there is a major obstacle on the road to the Saudi-Indian friendship: Pakistan. As it is widely known, Pakistan and India are historic rivals and have fought several wars in the past. They have developed nuclear weapons with the principal aim of deterring an attack from the other, and they are involved in a thorny decade-long dispute over Kashmir. Both claim their sovereignty over the whole region, but in practice it is divided into a Pakistan-controlled part and an Indian-ruled one, plus a third portion administered by China. The situation remains tense in the area, with frequent skirmishes and terrorist attacks, and a negotiated settlement of the issue seems an extremely remote possibility up to now. Finally, Islamabad has been fostering close ties with Beijing, who is heavily investing in the country in the context of the China-Pakistan economic corridor, something that New Delhi regards with suspicion. But while the Indian-Pakistani relations are far from friendly, Islamabad and Riyadh enjoy positive ties dating back to decades ago. Both states follow Sunni Islam, which is a core element of their identity. Saudi Arabia considers itself the champion of Sunnism and the guardian of the holy sites of Mecca and Medina, whereas Pakistan regards itself as the protector of Muslims in South Asia. In this context, the Saudis have been supporting religious movements in Pakistan by financing mosques and madrasas. But deep ties have existed also on the political level. Saudi Arabia supports Pakistan's position on the Kashmir issue, and the two actively supported the insurgency against the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in the 80s, before becoming the only states to recognise the Taliban's government in the late 90s, along with the United Arab Emirates. Moreover, Pakistan provided military assistance to Saudi Arabia multiple times, apart from supplying arms as well as performing advisory and training functions in favour of the Saudi military. Pakistan sent thousands of troops to protect the kingdom during the Iran-Iraq War in the 80s and the First Gulf War in 1990 to 1991. Yet in recent times it refused Riyadh's request for joining the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen. Finally, rumours have circulated for a long time that Saudi Arabia had attempted to obtain nuclear weapons technology and maybe even warheads from Pakistan in the attempt to counter its arch-nemesis Iran. Both sides rejected the claims, but this has nevertheless raised fears about a nuclear arms race in the Middle East and about the eventuality that Pakistan's nuclear weapons could end up in the arsenal of fellow Muslim countries. In reality, however, this is a remote possibility. First, it would be clear of violation of the nuclear non-proliferation regime on the parts of Riyadh, while on Islamabad's side the issue is more complex as it is not part of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Secondly, Pakistan's relatively small nuclear arsenal exists first and foremost in an anti-Indian logic, and it is very unlikely it would cede its warheads to other countries. That said, close ties exist between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, even in economic terms. The kingdom is an important oil supplier and investor for Pakistan. Also, thanks to many Pakistanis living and working on its territory, today economic relations are set to improve even more. As noted in the previous video, Pakistan is in serious financial trouble, Its public debt amounts to 67% of the GDP, and its external debt reached to $82 billion at the end of 2017, and the government is facing a foreign currency shortage. As Islamabad declined assistance from the IMF because of the fiscal policy conditions that come with it, Riyadh intervened to help. In January, it pledged to invest $10 billion to build an oil refinery in the Pakistani port of Gwadar. Then, during a recent official visit to Pakistan, Saudi Arabia's Prince Mohammed bin Salman promised another investment of $20 billion in the energy sector. This is of course due to a shared interest in strengthening bilateral economic relations and in developing the China-Pakistan economic corridor, of which Gwadar is the endpoint. But it is also an important signal on the political level. In short, Saudi-Pakistani relations are more than positive, and it seems they are going to improve in the coming years. But this is an obstacle to Saudi Arabia's friendship with India. Yet to fully understand the picture, another state must be factored in: Iran. If Pakistan is India's traditional rival, then Iran is Saudi Arabia's main nemesis. There are multiple issues dividing the two powers: competition for primacy in the Middle East, Riyadh's close ties with the US and its rapprochement with Israel, the support to opposite sides in Syria and Yemen, and finally the adherence to different branches of Islam. It is also in this logic that Saudi Arabia is engaging Pakistan. It hopes to bring the country on its side in an anti-Iran logic, which includes supporting proxy fighters in Afghanistan to counter Iranian influence over there. On its part, Islamabad has complicated relations with Tehran. The two trade goods to some extent, and Iran has been supporting Pakistan on the Kashmir dispute. However, Pakistan has been an important US partner for decades, even though bilateral relations have deteriorated recently as Trump accused Pakistan of supporting terrorism and suspending military assistance to the country. As seen before, Pakistan maintains good relations with Saudi Arabia, which of course angers Iran, who in turn is building closer ties with India. In the latter's geopolitical view, having a friendly Iran is a useful way to catch Pakistan between two fires, and this also explains why it is financing the development of the Chabahar port in Iran, largely seen as a rival project to Pakistan's Gwadar, sponsored by China and Saudi Arabia. More recently, after a terrorist attack killed 27 members of the Revolutionary Guards in the Sistan-Balochistan province, Tehran has strongly criticised Islamabad, accusing it of sheltering armed groups that perform attacks on Iranian soil. Only one day later, a suicide bomber belonging to a Pakistani-based group caused the death of 44 Indian soldiers in the portion of Kashmir that's under New Delhi's control. Iran condemned the event and promptly discussed closer counter-terrorism cooperation with India. In brief, Iranian-Pakistani relations are worsening, and this has had a double-fold effect. On the one hand, it favours Riyadh's tilt towards Islamabad, and on the other it pushes Tehran towards New Delhi. As a result, Saudi Arabia's relations with India are also impacted, and if the trend persists, further cooperation between the two could be compromised. The current trend is opening different opportunities and challenges for the involved parties. For Pakistan, a country in economic troubles and weakened by domestic insurgency, there is a real possibility of being caught between Iran and India. Therefore, and also considering the strained relations with the US, it is essential for it to foster its ties with new partners like Saudi Arabia and China. In Iran's case, the risk is to see Pakistan become too friendly with Saudi Arabia and to be involved in the Indian-Pakistan rivalry, something it surely prefers to avoid considering that US sanctions on its oil exports are back, that it is already engaged in Iraq, Syria and to a lesser degree Yemen, and that it needs to maintain stability at home. Considering that both Tehran and Islamabad do not have interests in seeing their relations further deteriorate and turn into an open confrontation, it is possible that they will make de-escalatory moves in the coming months. As far as India and Saudi Arabia are concerned, they are the winners of the current situation, at least in the sense that an Iran-Pakistan rivalry is favourable for their respective geopolitical interests. But this endangers their bilateral ties, since it also means that Riyadh is aligning with Islamabad while New Delhi is leaning towards Tehran. However, while developing a closer partnership is certainly beneficial for both Saudi Arabia and India, Their main concerns remain respectively Iran and Pakistan. As such, they will probably proceed along the current path of supporting the other's rival, even if this means renouncing to greater bilateral cooperation. The final outcome will also depend on what Iran and Pakistan will do, but one thing is certain, it will be important to monitor the quadrilateral relations in the years ahead. That's all for today guys, thanks for watching another KJ vid. What are your views on Saudi-Indian relations? Do you think they will de-escalate, or will anything else change the situation? Especially if you are from Saudi Arabia or India. Finally, don't forget to support us on Patreon so we can produce more of these geopolitical reports. That's all for today guys, see you next time.